I just completed 2025 AMath O-Level Papers, and as a founder of a math tuition center in Singapore who has been coaching many AMath students for the past 10 years, let me explain why this year's paper is truly one of the hardest O-Level paper for AMath I've ever seen, and what it means for the future students who are taking AMath. Why is 2025 AMath O-Level papers the hardest this year? Based on my opinion is first, the easiest topics actually did not appear. We all know that partial fraction always appear as one question year on year for the past 10 years, and it's the easiest topic, right? That is worth like 4 to even 7 marks, but it didn't appear this year. Likewise to the drawing of linear graph, which is under your linear law, as well as drawing of a trigo graph. Second, tricky questions that never appear in the past O-Level papers or even your school past year prelims actually appeared in this year's O-Level papers. Let me show you some examples. This is question 1 from O-Level Amath 2025 paper 1, and this is one of the trickiest questions I've ever seen in my entire life, which is the fact that we need to form the inequality less than here. Tricky part is we need to know that log 0.95 is actually a negative number if you key into your calculator. And if you are not aware that it's a negative number, you may forget to flip this inequality sign to become more than, and that will cause your answer to be wrong. This is question 11 of 2025 O-Level AMath paper, and honestly speaking, I've never seen a question that combines explanation, trigonometry ratio, R formula, and also involving negative angles. So this was really interesting for me, and I guess the trickiest part of it all was, I remember when I was doing part II, I was actually stuck for a good 10 minutes because I didn't realize that I was supposed to use the context from part CI. As you can see, II and CI, they are on separate pages, and it wasn't obvious that II was actually technically linked to CI because of the keyword if in CI. But the thing is, we actually need to use this fact, cosine theta plus 4 sine theta equals 3.75 here, you know, to be able to solve this question. And this is worth 6 marks. Last but not least, the most difficult topics are actually worth a lot of marks for this year's O-Level papers. We all know that integration and area under graph is always one of the hardest. We math tutors all agree that this is one of the most insane questions we've ever seen in our entire life. I can kind of understand why Cambridge is setting this type of questions really truly to define, you know, who are the A1 and A2 students. We all know that rate of change is one of the most difficult and abstract topics that students often struggle to understand. The good thing is, for the past 10 years, it has always been appearing as a 2 mark, 3 mark, 4 mark kind of question, but this year it actually appeared as a 5 mark question. They didn't even give you any chance to perhaps break the question up into 2 parts, maybe a 2 mark and a 3 mark, and to get you all a little bit further on how to solve this question. So I feel that this question is pretty intense for this year. Thankfully, the rest of the questions in the AMath papers are pretty manageable, but if I were to truly give a rating for the past 10 years of AMath O-Level papers, I would still think that this year is the most difficult. And what this means for future students taking AMath is that we no longer can just rely on drilling on past year O-Level papers to get the A1. We actually need to use a balanced paper strategy whereby TYS trains your fundamentals and recurring concepts that we must know, but we also have to attempt school prelim papers so that we get more exposure to tricky, creative, and higher order thinking questions. I think since 2019, it has always been the case where every year they are coming up with more creative questions, and for last time, it wasn't like this. Secondly, time management is super important, so when we reach a very difficult question, please do not just get stuck at that question, because being exam smart doesn't mean that you do every question in order, but you do every question efficiently and you gain the marks that are most easily earned first. Number 3, we all know that logarithm is always very tricky, because for logarithm, we all know that we need to fulfill the condition whereby our a here must be more than 0, not equals to 1, and our y here must be more than 0. So when the question doesn't fulfill these conditions, we usually have to reject at the end of the question. But for this year, we also realize that when it is mixed with inequalities, we need to be careful whether we need to flip the sign or not. Last but not least, if you're stuck with any question, just remember that subparts are connected. So for instance, if you're stuck with CII, just remember to go back to CI, because usually the logic can be gotten from CI to be able to continue with the question. So don't ignore the previous parts, use earlier parts to guide your approach. I hope this video helps for students who are taking AMath in the future, and do follow our secondary school Telegram where we'll be posting more tips and useful resources for you to ace your examination. See you!